Hey everyone, welcome to MP527 Theories of Personality. I'm Dominic Bennett, here in Phoenix, Arizona, and I'm joined by my co-host, Jesse Akins, down in Los Angeles. Jesse, how you doing?
Hey Dom, I'm good, thanks. Super excited to dive into this course. There's so much ground to cover. So we wanted to start by talking about where personality theory really begins, right?
Exactly. I mean, depending on who you ask, the definition of personality kind of shifts a little. According to Feist, and Roberts, in their 2020 textbook, which is like the backbone of this course, personality is basically a pattern of thoughts, feelings, and behaviors that are relatively consistent over time and across situations. It's a mouthful, kind of like the definition of fire in my line of work, but you get the picture.
Yeah, and, in that first week of the course, everyone's talking about their own views, these sort of gut assumptions we have about people, like what makes someone stubborn or kind or, I don't know, just a bit odd. Our cultural lens shapes how we read personality, too. Like growing up in Canada, there was such an emphasis on being easygoing or polite, so I always saw that as just a normal baseline, not realizing that even those traits are somewhat culturally loaded.
Right? I guess that's something I'm still learning, even as an adult. In my community and at work, there's this macho persona everyone thinks you have to put on, but what the textbook points out is that's just one layer. It's shaped by context and not some fixed part of your DNA, you know?
And look, honestly, working in childcare is what really got me thinking about this. Like, there's this assumption that kids are basically miniature adults, but after a day with a group of toddlers, you realize, wow, their personalities are so fluid. I had this little girl who was super shy for weeks, but then, with the tiniest nudge, suddenly she's organizing impromptu puppet shows. Meanwhile, I'd go home and watch my roommate do the exact same things every single night, like clockwork. That made me question, is personality actually stable? Or do we just see what we expect, depending on age?
That's super interesting, and it lines up with what Feist and colleagues talk about, that personality isn't this immovable thing. There's definitely debate about just how stable it is over time, especially when you're comparing kids to adults. And I mean, if you're listening, I'd encourage you to really think about your own assumptions. That's something discussed a lot in the Week 1 forums. What do you see as personality versus just, I don't know, mood or habit? Speaking of big questions, though, one of the oldest is nature or nurture. You ready to wade into that one?
Oh, I'm always ready. This is where things get heated too. So let's jump in with the research from Bratko and colleagues in 2017. Their work, if I remember right, found that there is a significant hereditary component to personality. Like, certain traits really do run in families. But at the same time, the environment plays a huge role. Nobody's born a firefighter or, an extrovert or whatever, right?
Yeah, although, well, I gotta admit, sometimes I look at my kids and I see these bits that are just so obviously inherited. I mean, my son's stubbornness, that's straight out of my playbook. But then things pop up that feel like environmental influences, especially since my wife and I raised our two kids in a blended household. Like my daughter picked up her sense of humor from her stepbrother, not from me or her mom. That's nurture at work.
Exactly. And what's cool is, the research backs you up. Hampson in 2008 pointed out that early temperament, those little quirks you see in babies and toddlers, has long-term effects, sometimes shaping adult well-being. Like, if a kid is super adaptable early on, they're more likely to roll with the punches later in life. But Coppola-Sibley and colleagues in 2018 also found it doesn't mean those early traits are set in stone. There's room for change as kids grow up, which you see all the time, right?
Yeah, for sure. Honestly, I used to assume personality is fixed. But now, I see how my kids are influenced by this whole web of genetics, environment, routines, and heck, probably just the randomness of life. There's stability, but also change, as weird as that sounds.
Yeah, and in the course we talk about the debates, not as either or, but more of a how much of each situation. And what the data suggests is that it's always a blend. There are patterns, but there's always exceptions, which is honestly exactly what makes studying personality and working with actual people so interesting to me.
It keeps us humble, that's for sure. I mean, I might be wrong about this, but I think both the textbook and those assigned articles are pretty clear. Personality is influenced by both inheritance and environment, with enough wiggle room that life experiences matter. A lot. And as a parent, I find that oddly comforting, like nothing's totally out of your hands.
So true. And it means we're not just doomed to repeat our parents' quirks forever, which is a relief, but it's also a reminder that context always matters, even if you feel like you know someone's personality. There's still room for surprise. Thanks, Dom. I'm looking forward to talking with you more as we go through the course.